Alright guys, so I'm continuing my mission of getting this car past the provincial safety inspection. You know, even though the thing was completely safe to begin with. And they did an alignment and told me that my camber settings were not good enough. Minus 1.5. And that I have to fix that before I can get the thing checked off. So, Legacies have no factory rear adjustable camber, unfortunately. So basically I've got the rear wheel off there, and I'm going to install this KCA399 Whiteline bushing set. And this gives us adjustable camber in the rear up to a degree, as it says right there. So basically I've got the wheel off, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and take this upper control arm off. I actually did end up getting that off myself. And I'll talk about that in a second. But first I've got the kit laid out here. This is everything you get in it. The bag, the instructions, the bushings. They're all the same. Some shit. And then some grease for your bushings and the actual metal sleeve that gives you the camber adjustment itself here. Kind of cool. We'll see how easy that is to adjust when it's on the car, but supposedly it's not too bad. So, moving over here. So I got the wheel off. I actually, in the last video you saw, I replaced that, where are you? That lower link there, lower control arm. And then I went on later and replaced this upper one. This is actually an aluminum JDM Spec B one. Doesn't matter if it's JDM Spec B, I doubt I'll feel the difference. But I got it because I got a good deal on it. So if you're going to do this modification, you got to get this off yourself. And from everything I've heard, including my own experience, and this is what happened to me in the last video, that nut, let's see if I can get a good angle on it, right in the back there, is extremely prone to seizure. That one right there, yeah. Very prone to seizure and rusting, and is gonna give you a hell of a time to get it off, most likely. Funny enough, I took this to a shop, like I said I was gonna do in the last video, and the damn shop worked an hour at the thing, told me it's frozen, they can't do anything about it, and then put the car back on the ground. And I said, screw you guys, I'm picking it up. Brought it back home, and did it myself with some hand tools and an auto lift. So I'm going to give you some tips here on how to actually do this yourself. So because, as I said, that thing gets so rusted on, let's see if I can get a better angle at it from the back here. Yeah, there it is. So you see this little plastic bit thing here hanging down? So what you want to do is unbolt that from the car itself, which is this little son of a bitch. That little plastic hanging thing there. It has a little poppet that goes in to the frame, and I popped that out and I pulled it down, and it gave me some more clearance back here. Jeez, this is really difficult to show you guys, eh? Yeah, it gives me some more clearance back there where I could slip some more tools. So what I did is apparently they told me they tried to torch it and they tried to do a whole bunch of shit and it wasn't working for them. Don't know if I really believe it, but whatever. I took it back here. I torched it myself. I then took a metal file, and filed it down, and slipped. Filed it down with one of these, and slipped that wrench on it there. This is a 17. Actually, I didn't slip that one on. I slipped a 16 on there. It's a 17-inch bolt, but I filed it down and got a 16 on there, and that gave me enough grip. I actually had to hammer that on. And that gave me enough grip to get it off. There's the control arms themselves there. You can see they're pretty mangled. But here's the actual bolt. No, not that one. It's this one. Oh yeah, look at that. So what happens is that these damn things, because they're like convex like that, look how rusted that is. Your wrench won't properly sit on there. It doesn't get all the way on. So that's why. I don't know if you can kind of see the grooves, but anyway, that's going to be a throwaway when you're done with it, so make sure you get yourself some new bolts. So that's just some tips on getting that thing off. When you're done, you're going to torque it back down to whatever the spec was there. I think I wrote it on the last video. It's definitely not 89 though, so don't do that. Anyway, so that part you can figure out. Just take this off, take that off, get the arm off, and then what I'm going to do is send this to a shop and get them to press the bushings out, because it's actually just this bushing, because I don't want to deal with it myself. I don't have a press. Yeah, so the Whiteline kit is going to replace this bushing right here, and you'll see there's nothing too complicated here. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off, and we'll go from there. So I got the control arm out there. This is the aluminum one. That's the original one. Let's take a look at the bushings here. So obviously that bushing was shit. That's why I had to replace it. This one's good, but it's going to get replaced with that insert there. So basically that insert's going to, the way I rotate it is going to give me more or less camber. And then I'll have the polyurethane stuff around it. Just make sure you jack that up if you're having trouble getting those bolts out, and then everything should come smoothly from there. So I got the control arms back from the shop, and as you can see, they pressed the outer bushing out there nicely. So it's time for these things to go in. So using this little grease that I've gotten with the kit, I'm going to take some grease all this. This is already pretty clean. You're supposed to like sand it down and clean it out before, but it all looks really nice. So I'm going to grease all that right away. Then stick these in, one from each side. They're all the same, so it doesn't really matter. And then once that's in, grease the inside of that too, and then pop that in. And I'm going to set it for a whole bunch of positive, as much positive camber as I can get, which is going to be a degree. I'm just going to put it into spec on that wheel there. And then on the other one, I'm going to try and match the factory setting, or get it as close to center as possible. We'll see how that goes. Pop right in, no issues. And that one too. So those are in there. And now I don't know if you can see that, but I got this crazy new light, super bright in my garage on that side now, but not this side. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of knurled in there, which leads me to think that maybe I shouldn't grease that. But if you look at the instructions here, it says, clean, apply a light film of grease, apply grease to the inside of the bushes, which are the rubber things, because 4 polyurethane bushes. So I guess I should apply grease to that. If I'm not supposed to, well, what's the worst that's going to happen here? I'm just following the instructions, doing exactly what it says, so we'll see what happens. Press in new inserts in the rear of the arms. Okay, cool. So that's in. Now, I'm going to try and adjust them a little bit, and maybe even mark kind of a line once I got it across, so that I can realign them once I get them on there. Yeah, and the next thing I'll do is bolt them back onto the car. Okay, so I've got the control arm installed there. You can see the little black lines that I put on the bushing itself and then on the control arm line up, which means that I didn't have too much movement, which is a good thing for me because I don't want to reposition this thing. I've got the other side bolted up there very lightly. I put anti-seize on all these bolts just so that it's not as much of a pain getting them out next time if I need to. And I had to jack the knuckle up to do this. So now that I've jacked the knuckle up this much, it actually lifted the car off the jack stands. So I mean, you don't get much more weight in wheels than that, and that means I can torque these things down without having to lower the car on ramps with the wheels on. So that's good. If you want to do that, just make sure you're using the knuckle there and not any of these bars, lateral links, axles, anything that's going to destroy your car. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and torque these down to the torque spec and then put the wheels on, and you know, that's about it. I'll see if the camber works. I'll get an alignment tomorrow to get that inspection done, and I mean, that was kind of the whole point of doing this to begin with. And if the technician has any issues adjusting these, I mean, I'll leave an update in the description. But if anybody has any questions or comments or anything, just drop me a comment, drop me a subscribe as well if you like. And yeah, I know I was talking about getting those banjo bolts done in the last video, and there was at least one guy that wanted to see that. I was actually going to do that this weekend, but I ended up having to order the crush washers because my dealership didn't have them. So those are on their way in. I'm talking about the crush washers on either side of the banjo bolt because you don't really want to reuse them. So I'll probably get that done this weekend and post that video. If anybody else wants to see anything or has any questions, let me know. That's it for me. Okay, so just a quick follow-up on the bushings here. So I got them in the video, as you saw. Got them all installed, got everything put back together, and set the camber the way I thought it should be myself. And this is what I was able to come up with. So this was the original, minus 1.5 and minus 4.7. With the left was fine, the right was still out. And with the camber bushings, the KCAs, we got to minus 0.7, and then the final was minus 0.67. So from minus 1.5 to minus 0.7. So they did their job. That's a pretty good result, especially just for eyeballing it. The only thing is that kicked my toe out, apparently, which meant that they had to do an alignment on that, and boom, well, like $100 later, we're all green. But the main thing is I was able to register the car. I got my plates on here finally, so I can start getting to work on it and not worrying about having to take it for an inspection. Cool. That's it for me.